In this tutorial, we will discuss how to find the maximum value of a property in an array of objects. This comes in handy when you're working with an array of objects and you need to find the maximum value of a particular key in the object. You can think of it as you can think of it like, let's say, you can think of it like when working with a database and you want to find the maximum value, when you have to use like the select and the max keyword. It also applies to applications like Microsoft Access and Microsoft Excel. The max keyword is usually crucial for this kind of operations. So when working with JavaScript, do we have the max keyword? No, we don't. Um, and this is something that you quite need when working in either small or large projects, filtering an object or an array of objects by the largest value. So this is how we go about it. Title, and let's say finding the max value of a property in an array of objects. Okay. So first things first, what we can do is to create a variable that will hold an array that will hold the objects. We'll create a variable to repeat. We'll create a variable that will hold an array, and this array will hold the objects. And these objects is just have like a typical database. The records will have properties that will mimic a typical student database. So let's start it this way. Let's say that students can assign this an array, then we'll just create the object here. So we can say name, we can say semi name, then we can see the matrix number, and we can say CSC 2020-044, and we can see the CGPA. Let's say 3.26. Okay. Yeah, then comma here, then do this. Let's just use 3 records for this. So let's change the names now. So for this second record, we'll have let's say only, and let's change this matrix number to 087. And let's change the GPA to 3.74. Then this third person, let's make him Fasha King, and let's change the matrix number to, let's say it's repeating the course, and let's give him a matrix number of, let's say 05053. All right, and CGPA, let's change that. Let's give it 2.33. Now, obviously we can't be finding max value with a name or even a matrix number. That doesn't make sense. But with a CGPA, you can let it apply here. We can say we want to find the maximum. We want to find the students with the maximum CGPA. That means we want to use JavaScript to find a student amongst these records that has the highest CGPA. Obviously, it's this guy. But what do we do? How do we go about it? Okay, first things first. There's several ways to go about this, but we'll treat 2 main ways. The first method we'll treat is the AS6 reduce method, which, when done correctly, can be quite elegant. usually reduce methods are written as one-liners most of the time. The succinct approach of the reduce makes for readable code in most instances. So how does this reduce work? The reduce, like other JavaScript new ES6 methods, you can definitely tell it's runs some form of loop under the hood, and does a form of inbuilt filtering. Um, you run the reduce method the on the variable that holds the records. So this is how it's going to be. We can say student, you know what, let me just create a new variable and say let's say const let's just say student with max CGPA. We can say equals to, then we'll just student the reduce, then we'll run this. Now reduce works with two okay, now as you can see here, it says previous value here, the name, the string, CGPA, current value. We'll just run with two parameters inside the reduce. The first parameter will point to the previous record, and the second parameter will point to the current record you're working in. So this will be, you can just say the previous, you can just say the pre and the current. Then we can just use an arrow function here. Then open another bracket here. Then all we can say is if the previous record exists, so you can just say pre. If it does exist, what do we want to do? We want to access this. So now we'll run this first, run this second, run this third. So we just don't want to run the records. We want to run the records and access the CGPA. So to access the CGPA, that will be we'll run prev.cgpa. Then what do we want to test? We want to test whether the previous is greater than the current. If it's greater, it will be stored in the student with max GPA in this variable here. But if it's not greater, the previous value here in this const will remain. That's just how it works basically. So it's like you're looping across the records and you're accessing CGPA, and if CGPA, if it's greater, it will store it here. If it's not greater, it will just keep it. That means the previous record stored in students with max CGPA constant will remain as is. So that's how it is. So previous CGPA being greater than current. Most times when running with reduce, you're just doing some form of comparison. That's it. The current CGPA. So now, is it greater or not? If it's greater, what do we want to do? So what this is a ternary we'll just run a ternary operator here, and ternary is just like a traditional if else. Just again, just a one liner if else, if you will. So we'll just save the previous, otherwise save the current. So then I can put a semicolon here, then I can console the log student with max CGPA. Then hopefully what we will get is this record. Hopefully. So you can come here, reload. And there we go. We got a record 2.74, the matrix. That's Kunle. So Kunle is the brightest. Kunle is the brightest in this class. So Kunle has the highest CGPA. So that's how to get it. If we want to get the list, you can just say, you can just make it less than, then we can see what we get here. So we can see we get Fashakin, and you got the list 2.33. And if we check our records, 2.33 is the list here. That's just basically how it works with the reduce. I think writing code with reduce makes your code base actually reduced. Anyway, yeah. So let's use the traditional for loop method. Okay. If you're familiar with the for loop, um, you may actually prefer the for loop method as being easier, or at least you can really see what's going on within the code. Yes, it's longer, but again, that's one thing with coding. You have many options or many approaches to solve peculiar problems. So let me just comment this out. Let me just only comment this out. Okay, then I'll just end this. Okay, I still comment this out, so we're just within because we still need that code. So now, what do we do here? First things first, we would look across the database. Now, pay attention. This is actually an array. It's actually an array that holds object. Just the same way we may have an array of let's say zero. Let's say we can just say a quick example. Let's array equals and say 0, 1, so just like this is an array holding numbers, this is an array holding objects. An array can hold anything. In fact, we could have an array holding booleans. We could have an array holding false, false, true. We could have an array holding false, false, and a string. We could have an array holding false, false, and another array inside holding array, or even a multi-dimensional array. So, in a way, an array can be simple, like 0, 1, 2, like we did, or it could be complex or really nested. This is not really a complex array, okay, but we can have way more complex arrays, like when dealing with large projects. That will really take your time to sort through to access the particular value you want and all. But that's for later lessons. So let's delete this and come here and look across this guy. So that's for say let student be 0. Then we should pass our condition here, student being less than students that's the length, and students plus that's the increment. Then we just put our curly braces. See, I think we know the drill here. So what do we want to do? Let's store the current student. Okay, current students will be students. So what I'm doing here is a for loop runs by a loop runs by actually cycling across an array or across a list or something like that, a collection. Yeah. So what we're doing here is that a for loop will go across this first record. That is when student is 0. Then to cycle across the second one. By then, students will be 1. That is what this does. This student plus plus would be increasing it 1 by 1 by 1. So this will run across 3 times. Why is it running across 3 times? Because we're running it across the length of the array, which is 1, 2, 3. So that is students dot length less than. So that'll be 0, 1, 2. Student dot length is 3. But with the traditional loop, we start with 0. And because the iterator starts with 0, the condition here is less than, not less than or equals to. It is just less than. So we're not going to hit 3. We'll just hit 0, 1, 2, and that's it. And we've accessed the old entries of the array. That's just typical for loop constraints. So let call students equals students, and we'll access students here. So what we'll do next is to access the CGPA. So that'll be let and call CGPA. What do we do now? Cross CGPA. Okay. That'll be equals to. Now this cross student is this guy here. For 0 is 0. So to access a value we'll get what is stored here and paste. Then we'll just access it like as the CGPA. And we're having now on the first loop we'll be having 3.26. On the second loop we're having 3.74, and the third loop we'll have 2.33. Okay. That's it. So what we need now is let's see. So what we need now is, okay, let me just copy this, come here, paste. I'll just say let's student with maths CGPE equals 0 at the starter. Okay, so what I want to do now, this is what we call initialization. So like be able to work with the array later on. So we can bring it here and paste it here. And it is time to do some filtering. So what I need to do here is for every loop, on every loop, I want to check whether the current CGPA here is greater than, hold on, so master CGPA. Okay, now this is wrong. Okay, we want the student with max CGPA to be a record, not just a typical value, because we want to return the record. So this will be my bad. So this will be students accessing 0 as the initial value. So we're starting out with the first record inside the students database. So student 0 is this. So we'll just continue here and say is the current CGP here, is it greater than the than this? We'll get this and access the CGPA in it. You understand? So this is the record, and we want this value. And to get 3.26, we have to access it with dot notation on the key here. So that is student with max GPA dot CGPA. Now, is it greater? If it's greater, what do I want to do? I want to um override whatever is in student with max dot CGPA. I want to override the initial record in it if the CGPA is greater. So now, what would that be? That would be current students, or if not, remember current students is every record, every record, every record, every record. So now, if again to explain, if the CGPA which we have assessed is greater than the CGPA of the previous record in this, it works similar like the reduced. In fact, I believe this is how it works under the hood, although I've not checked that. We will store either current students, or we would still keep the old value. So we will still keep the old value. So that will be that. So on the log, to run 0, 1, 2, 3 times. So now we can just get out here and console the log. We can commit and reload. And we have currently 3.74. So that's for student with the max CGPA. We want to check for the minimum. We can just say less than and save quickly and see what we get. We get fast tracking 2.33. So back to 8 here. So again, 3.74. So that's how it works. So just to recap, the reduce works by comparing the previous and current, and you running a condition that keeps filtering and replacing by filtering and replacing what is stored in the variable that holds the reduce method, if that makes sense. And this full method just similarly cycles across the database and has a variable stored outside of the loop. And we access the value we want to compare. And if what we're comparing, there's a method here. If what we're comparing works out fine, then we override what is stored in the variable with the past tests. This is the testing, this is the filter test. Otherwise, we'll remain with the old value. So that's how it works. So thanks for watching. Bye.